and welcome back to True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
Well, how's everybody doing? We're back from our Patreon exclusive last week. Thank you to everyone who is a Patreon member that got to check out that. What case did we do, Michael?
That is a great question. We did Lightning Lee Murray. Ooh, you almost got me. I was not expecting
quiz,
that.
Hot shot.
I'm only the co-host, man. I don't know all the details. But Lightning Lee Murray. It was our first ever video podcast. Our first ever.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could say that because we've been doing some Just the Banters with video, and we decided why not? We have the capability of doing it now. Let's add a video element to it. So this episode currently can be seen on YouTube as well. So
that's right.
If you're interested in that, click the link below. If you're an audio listener, that's fine too. I'm more of a listen to my podcast on the road kind of guy, so I don't really need the video.
Yeah, me too.
But sometimes people talk about something, you're like, oh, I want to see what they're talking about, because we are going to have pictures popping up throughout this and all that. So
right.
It'll be a different experience. If you listen at your desktop at work, maybe watch the YouTube version instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys can check the link to our YouTube page right below the description of this episode. Check out the True Crime Guys link tree for links to everything True Crime Guys.
Yeah. But as for this episode, I have a question for y'all. Do you ever feel like someone's watching you?
Dude, don't we all always?
Yeah, because
it
does happen. And we're going to actually
and it probably
prove that
is
point
happening
by doing a whole series on Stalkers. So this is our Stalker series. I'm thinking we should do this. All 3 of our freeloader episodes leading up to the next Patreon exclusive, 3 in a row Stalker series.
All Stalkers. Okay.
And there's so many of them that this is going to be compilation episodes. There's probably going to be 2 to 3 cases per. This one, there's going to be 2 cases in this episode of Stalkers. Right. Some of them turn murderous. Some of them just kidnap you and do sexual stuff to you, and then you escape, as in our first case here. But you're going to want to also maybe first listen to our run, hide, escape, fight episode on how to get away from these creeps if they do get their hands on you. Because,
I forgot about that episode.
Yeah,
it's a great precursor to this, no doubt. All right, well, you
let's
ready
get
to
into
get
it.
Stalker Series 1?
Let's do it. I'm sure you had fun with the intro here.
Oh yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, for our first case of the compilation in part 1 of the Stalker series, we have a young man who became obsessed with his teacher. I feel like, on a small scale, we've been there. You know, there's been a teacher that you were infatuated with at some point. There has to be, right? Whether you're male or female, like there was always some attractive teacher.
Absolutely. I think if you went to school, you know, all through 12 years, I think it's highly probable that you had some teacher that you had a crush on
Shout out
at
to
some
Mrs.
point
Lee,
in
my sixth grade science teacher.
time.
I don't know how you're looking these days. It's been like 20 something years.
Right.
But back then.
Yeah. Miss let's see, mine was in 4th grade, I think, my first teacher crush, Miss Wallace. Yes. And she's a principal now. She was actually my oldest daughter's principal in 2015.
Oh, so she's still around, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I always wonder that when I drive by my old schools, like how many of the teachers that I had are still there? You know, like when we're talking elementary school, like they might be dead at that point. That's how old I am now. Like,
well, no.
like
Well,
if they were
first
old
off,
then, when I was in elementary school, they're dead probably.
well, if they were old then, yeah. But see, this was we were her first class. My class was her first real class, like out of getting her teaching degree and all that. You know, they have to do like not clinicals, but I don't know, whatever you call it. Fucking internships. You have to do teaching internships, right?
I knew what word you were looking for, but I couldn't find it either.
Right. It's lost in there. So she was very young when she was my teacher, and she still looks pretty young now. But she moved schools though. Like I said, she's not still at the old school that she started at. She's principal of a much better school now.
Oh, so she's moving on up.
Yeah. It seems that way. All
right. Well, this case we're calling the 15-year obsession, and this is a young man named Ming Sen Shiue, who he was born in Taiwan and moved to America. He was born actually on October 15th, 1950 in Taiwan, and shares a birthday with Dominic West, who was Jimmy Mcnulty in The Wire, which is, if you haven't seen that show, it's one of the best series ever.
I have not seen it.
Oh, wow. Especially like us being in the crime world, like you would love it. It's all about
shame on me.
The criminal underworld in Baltimore, drug dealing and like the police trying to infiltrate the drug dealers and all that. It's super good. And Dominic West was fantastic in it.
Right on.
And then Emeril Lagasse, world famous chef, and Larry Miller. Very interesting.
Emeril Lagasse. Okay. Yeah, I know Chef Emeril. If you would have said Chef Emeril, I would know who you're talking about, but I didn't know his last name.
You didn't know Lagasse?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know his last name. I'm not that familiar with chefs, to be honest. You know, I know Guy Fieri. I know you're a chef lover. I know.
That's a weird way to put it.
I'm a fan of chefs. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know any of this crew. I don't know Larry Miller either.
If you looked up a picture of him, you'd probably be like, "Oh, okay, that guy. He's a comedian he's been in some movies and stuff as an actor, small time roles and stuff like that. But he's got an interesting take on things. He's a lot of times political and stuff too. I haven't heard from him in a while, but yeah.
I'll look him up right quick. We'll throw a picture of him up on the screen.
There we go.
So, Larry Miller. Okay.
Yeah. So now you recognize him. He's kind of like one of those, that guy faces, you know?
Yep. He's one of those actors everyone's seen, but nobody knows who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would love to hear that.
I'm sure. I'm sure he knows that.
Larry Miller. So as a young boy, Ming Sen Shiue developed a crush on his algebra teacher. Most crushes, as we know, typically subside. They should, or else you become a stalker eventually.
Right.
Ming's obsession divulged into a deep, long-lasting obsession that lasted for over a decade into adulthood before he finally decided to act on it, seek her out, and abduct her. And we'll go into more detail on this, obviously. So, as we mentioned, born in 1950 in Taiwan, and when he was 8 years old, his family immigrated to Minnesota in America when he was, like I said, 8 years old. And in Minnesota, his father became a professor at the University of Minnesota. But after they moved to Minnesota and his father got that job as a professor, he died just 3 years after they moved there.
What the hell?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy coincidence there.
Yeah. And Ming was described as violent towards his younger siblings, often beating them during adolescence and adulthood. His mother had some choice words about her own son to say, calling him basically like a dog, like he had no emotions.
Coming from a mother, that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah. This sounds like nature, man, like a case of nature where he was just a bad egg from the jump.
You don't think the death of his father had anything to do with it?
I'm
young?
sure it didn't help, but like we've mentioned, it didn't affect the other siblings. They didn't become a creepy stalker rapist, you know?
Right. But he was the oldest, though.
Yeah.
He was the
Yeah,
oldest.
you're right there.
So he kind of like lost that male direction in his life at 8 years old. I'm not blaming it on that. I'm just saying I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah, I was going to say plenty of people do, and they don't go on to do anything like what he did. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
people are complex. They respond to things in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
In his teen years, Ming would reportedly engage in criminal activity as a juvenile, such as starting fires. That's never a good sign, right? When you're young child's an arsonist.
That's one of the McDonald triad.
On fire.
Yep.
And throwing rocks at vehicles, moving vehicles. That's also a felony.
Okay, I did that. I mean, that's not so bad.
Rocks? I threw stuff at cars, never rocks. And I hung out with some bad kids. We threw rocks through windows of like buildings and apartments and stuff like that, but never moving cars.
I had this friend that lived near like an overpass, and we used to throw rocks at semis.
What the fuck? While they were driving down the highway?
Yeah. We were just trying to hit the trailer, not
like
the
little
not the
rocks
cab.
or big rocks, because you literally could
have little rocks,
like fucking a severe crash with a bunch of dead people.
Little-ish rocks, I would say. I like that.
This reminds me of the Good Kid with Macaulay Culkin, where he drops the like fake body off of a bridge and like kills someone. I think if I remember that right, something like that happened.
Whoa!
It's been a long time since that movie was in the 90s, back when Macaulay Culkin was still acting. But
and what's it called?
The Good Kid, I think, or the Good
Kid,
the Good Child, something like that.
Okay.
I think he's an adopted child, or this kid gets adopted, right? Macaulay Culkin's the child of this couple, like naturally, and then they adopt another boy about his age, and so they're like, I guess quasi stepbrothers or whatever you would call that. And Macaulay Culkin's like this evil fuck. He's like an evil kid, and like he keeps doing stuff, and then like blaming the other kid for it, and like teaching him all these terrible habits. And I want to say, like, the spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, it's like fucking 35 years old, but I want to say like there's some crazy scenario where the mom has to, like, she's holding both of them off a cliff or something, and she has to choose one, and she chooses to keep the kid she adopted and drop Macaulay Culkin because she knows he's evil.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Dang, you just spoiled it for us, but that's cool.
Whatever, you're not gonna watch it.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't watch it. Maybe pull up some scenes. Pull up the bridge scene where he drops a freaking dummy off a bridge.
So that's like how it starts,
or that's moving highway. I think that's like a midway through the movie scene.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if like that's what puts him into juvie, and then
he shoots somebody's dog with a rifle, maybe too. I don't know. He's an evil bastard. He's basically a future serial killer. So it's probably a good thing his mom dropped him off that cliff.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I mean, he was headed down the Ming Shiue path here.
Yeah. That's interesting because I think most people are afraid of adopting kids for the opposite reason, right? They're afraid that these kids are going to be crazy.
This whole thing right here made me like, I think it's a good idea, a good concept for like a small, like a short podcast or show is like, I hit you with like a movie that's really old. Maybe you've seen it. And if you have, like, you try and recount what happened, because I have no idea whether that whole retelling I just did was actually accurate at all. My memory is pretty flawed on this film. And so people who've seen it recently are probably laughing their ass off. Like, that's not exactly how that went at all. So like, that's how it goes. Shit that you haven't seen in forever would be kind of a fun concept.
Yes, it would. Yeah, it would. Okay. Yeah. Whoever's coming to retell it, the other person needs to watch it recently, but not say anything. Right? That would be, yeah.
And then at the end be like, dude, you were wrong about everything.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting too sidetracked here. Let's stick to the case. So
right.
So Ming set 3 apartments on fire, and for his role in the arsons, he was ordered to participate in psychotherapy at the age of 14. Mm-hmm. And that's where this ends. He's all better now. End of case. Oh, he was rehabilitated perfectly. Didn't abduct his teacher and rape her, nothing like that.
Dude, that's great. That's always good to hear. That's why we got to listen to our kids and get them help when they need it.
Well, right? I don't do it. Let's make this clear. We're not shitting on therapy. Obviously, it's very important, but sometimes it doesn't work. Is all we're saying.
We're saying this kid was a bad egg.
Yeah,
he's a bad egg.
Yeah,
he's a bad egg.
He might have been enough of a psychopath or sociopath that he like told the therapist what they wanted to hear, and then was like, I can't wait to get out of here and go like kick a dog or something.
Oh, yeah. And then set it on fire or something.
Yeah, exactly. So according to his mother's testimony, Ming often lied about everything, was persistent about being right, was uncontrollable as a child, and took no responsibility for his physical behavior, thus causing her to be fearful. She described him as someone who has no feelings, like a dog.
Oh, yeah. See, that's
Dogs
detrimental
have
right there.
feelings, first of all. How dare you?
Yeah,
This
seriously.
is so
I was like,
insulting to dogs. Like, they don't have
my
feelings.
dog
Like, they
would
don't know
never
right from
do those
wrong. They know
things.
when they do wrong. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they give you that look. Like, some of them smile when they did wrong, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, they know.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs know. But
My dogs
Ming
have
did
more
not.
feelings than this kid. I'll tell you that.
Well, what's terrifying about Ming is the no responsibility for his physical behavior. Like, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
When someone, and they're always right, so they're always able to justify why they're doing these things, and in their mind, it's perfectly reasonable.
Yep.
Perfectly reasonable.
Yep.
And that's
It's always
terrifying.
scary when someone is able to justify horrible behavior, right?
Right. It's just
Many
an
of
early
the
form
serial
of
killers that
narcissism.
we've covered have been that way, where they're like, well, I did it because of this, and she deserved it. And it's like, oh,
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, but she didn't do that. That's not exactly how that went down,
right.
which we'll find in this case as well.
Yeah. So from 1965 to 1966, Ming attended Alexander Ramsey High School in Roseville, Minnesota, where he came to have a crush on his ninth grade algebra teacher, Mary Stouffer. He later admitted during proceedings that due to his infatuation, he began sexually fantasizing about his teacher. I put in the crime line. We've all been there.
Right.
Ming later wrote stories about his sexual fantasies with fictional characters from the movies, and eventually about Stouffer, which included consensual sex, rape, and gang rape. And then I put in the crime line. We've all not been there.
No. Not necessarily ventured to those areas.
Right.
No.
That's where it took a turn. When you started
Indeed.
fantasizing about raping her. That's a bit too far there, Ming.
Yeah, that's too far.
Ming attended Alexander Ramsey High School in Roseville, and while attending, he developed this crush on his teacher. As I said, the crush developed into an obsession, and this obsession followed him throughout adulthood. He just never let it go. Never moved on. He never got a girlfriend of his own, I guess.
That's weird, right?
Just, yeah.
I think he saw that in his little narcissistic mind as a failure, right? He's like, I didn't act on that. I didn't get her. And of course she wants me, right? I mean,
do you think he thought that?
I think so.
Because spoiler alert, like 15 years later, when he stalks her down and finds her, she didn't know who the fuck he was, obviously.
No, I know, but in his mind, is what I'm saying.
Mind, yeah.
Yeah, he interpreted all of her. You know, she was probably just being a nice, considerate teacher, trying to, give him the extra attention he needed or whatever, and he just took it all the wrong way. Yeah. That happens a lot.
Well, we've seen that with some of these people. They say when they kill the person that they wanted to be the most important person in their life because they never gave them the time of day. Maybe he knew that she didn't remember him and that bothered him. He wanted to be.
Ooh.
A lot of times when they, you stalk a person and you end up killing them later and they don't even know you exist a lot of times. Like, what was the Rebecca Schaefer episode?
Yeah, Rebecca Schaefer.
Absolutely. Yes. Remember that dude that was the very same thing. He knew that she knew he didn't exist. That bothered the shit out of him. He was so narcissistic that by killing her, his whole goal was like, I was the most important person in her life. I was the guy that ended it, type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Ming might have had that type of mentality here.
For sure.
But he also might have it could go either way. It could go the way you said it, where he thought she wanted him or whatever, and he never acted on it. Who knows what was going on in his head, but
right.
However, in 1975, after some mediocre stalker research, Ming located what he thought was Mary's home in Duluth, Minnesota. He broke into the house with a firearm, intending to kidnap Mary Stouffer, who did not live in the residence at the time. However, her in-laws owned the house and were there. He forced them to the ground, tied them up, and threatened to kill them if they reported the crime. And unfortunately, they did not report the crime because of his threats. And this may have helped prevent what happened later had they reported it. And I don't know what would have happened. He probably wouldn't have done much time for this. Probably would have gotten out and still had an obsession with Mary and went after her. I don't know.
But also, I mean, nothing came of it until 5 years later. So it's like her parents were probably like, okay, that was just a one-off thing. Somebody was confused. Okay. Yeah. But they had to have known that he was asking for their daughter.
I was going to say, he asked, where's Mary? He had to have. And maybe I don't know. Maybe they did behind the scenes warn her like, hey, some creep is looking for you. He tied us up and all that. I don't know.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Well, it was going to be hard for him to find her in Minnesota because she was actually in the Philippines at the time. As Ming continued to search for Mary, she was living with family in the Philippines where she and her husband worked as Christian missionaries. So very far away in a different country.
Yes. Yes.
However, they returned to Minnesota in 1979. And a year later, Ming was still stalking, still looking for Mary, and he learned that she was living at Bethel University campus, and this is where he began to stalk her. And this just made me think, while I was writing this crime line, that stalking must have been a lot harder pre-internet.
Right?
You had to really do some foot on the ground work here, like a detective.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's a lot of, sitting outside of residences, waiting long hours,
right?
Following people, calling to see who's there, who isn't.
Right.
I don't know. I've never put that much thought into old school stalking, but it sounds like a lot of work. Sounds like a shit ton of work.
Yeah. So on May 16th, 1980, Ming finally manages to track Mary down, and this is where it gets bad. He abducts her and all that stuff. She had been in a beauty salon in St. Paul with her 8-year-old daughter Elizabeth, and that's another terrible part about this story, is that her daughter is also involved. When he abducts her, she's with her. He takes her too. At the time, Mary's family had been scheduled to leave for the Philippines on a 4-day Baptist missionary, 4-year Baptist. So she was going to be gone again for the next 4 years. And unfortunately, he found her and got a hold of her before she would leave for her trip. She and her daughter were actually treating themselves to a haircut before the big trip. That's how soon they were leaving.
Now, do you think 4 years would be enough for this to subside in him?
No, he was always going to continue to look for her, but
right? It was just going to be delayed.
Yeah.
I think he would just been there waiting for her 4 years later.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look at how long it's already been. I mean, we're talking 15 years already.
Yeah.
He still hasn't let this go.
And then he attacks her parents, and then 5 years later, he's still looking for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
This dude wasn't going to give up.
Yeah. So on May 16th, 1980, upon leaving the beauty salon with her daughter, Mary was approached by Ming. He was armed with a gun. 15 years had passed, and at first Mary didn't recognize Ming, surprisingly.
Of course.
Initially, she thought that he just wanted to steal her car, so she handed over her car keys. Ming, however, had other plans. He forced Mary and her 8-year-old daughter Elizabeth into the car and ordered Mary to drive north. Mary drove to a remote wooded area in Anoka County, where Ming tied her up alongside Elizabeth and stuffed them in the trunk of his car. Ming then drove a short distance to an underdeveloped area near Roseville to check on Mary and Elizabeth. This takes a twist as well that you don't see coming in this case.
No.
As he goes to this remote area and opens the trunk to check on them, 2 little boys approach the car. This reminds me of a scene in Breaking Bad. You remember the kid on the dirt bike that witnessed what they were doing, and they ended up, spoiler again, shooting him out in the desert.
Yeah,
he had
fucking
the tarantula.
Todd.
Yeah.
Fucking Todd. I hate that dude's
fucking
character.
Todd, dude.
Fucking Todd.
God, he was so
Asshole.
creepy. He would have been a stalker creep too, wouldn't he?
Hell yeah, he could play a great stalker.
He probably already has, dude. He always plays creepy roles in movies, that guy.
He does. He plays a great sociopath.
Yeah. So yeah, he pulls this remote area. He got the trunk open to check on the girl and the woman that he abducted, and 2 little boys approached the car. One of the boys stayed at the front of the car, while the second boy, 6-year-old Jason Wilkman, came to the trunk to see what was going on. So this kid's being nosy. 6 years old. Of course, he's curious. At which point, Ming grabbed Jason and shoved him into the trunk alongside Mary and Elizabeth. So now he has a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and this woman that he's been stalking for over 15 years in the trunk of his car.
God, if you're willing to go this far,
this thing has gotten out of hand. Now 2 children you didn't plan to have a part of it are involved.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a living witness, the other child, as well, which not too smart to leave him running around.
Right, exactly.
He then drove to the Carlos Avery Wildlife Management area, and upon his arrival, Ming pulled over, where he grabbed 6-year-old Jason out of the trunk and beat him to death with a metal rod from the wooded area nearby.
That's just insane.
Pure fucking evil.
Just like that. Just pull him out.
Yeah.
Get rid of the trash. Beat him in the woods. Bro, that's no feeling.
Right.
No feeling.
What a
his
turn,
mama
man.
got it right.
How just random this kid goes to see what's going on at this car, and then this is what happens.
And he ends up dead.
Yeah,
because he crosses paths with some fucking sociopath.
Mm-hmm. So from here, Ming then drove Mary and Elizabeth to his apartment in Roseville, where Mary and Elizabeth were shackled and chained together in a tiny back bedroom closet. By this point, Mary and Elizabeth's family were frantic. Mary's husband, Irv, had called the beauty salon and discovered that they had left there safe and well. However, they never made it home. Irv called around local hospitals thinking that they may have been involved in an accident before he would call and report them missing to the police. By the following day, police had already linked the disappearance of 6-year-old Jason with the disappearance of Mary and Elizabeth, though. By this point, young Jason's body had not been discovered, but that at the scene where he was abducted, I'm sure the other child took the police to that scene, you know, where it went down. They found at that scene, they found Mary's license plate was just was torn off and been hidden in some heavy brush during the quick getaway. So now he's tying himself to the little boy's disappearance and, you know, what they would discover to be a murder and this abduction. So they also did. I mean, of course, they didn't know who the perpetrator was yet because it was Mary's car. So they just know she was taken with her car. They don't know who did it.
Exactly.
While police were attempting to find Jason, Mary, and Elizabeth, Ming had revealed his identity to Mary. Remember me? I was the quite creepy kid in your algebra class 15 years ago, is what I imagine, you know, she's thinking.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So what did he actually say? Something along the lines of that, though? Remember
who knows?
me?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe but she's, you know, spoiler, still around, so she could probably relay what he said.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm sure her heart sank though when he identified himself and he's showing his face. As a victim. You got to be like, well, I'm fucking dead once I get out of here.
I hope she was just like, no, still not remembering you.
No,
like just to fuck with him, you know, and that'd be great.
Right.
Nope, you mean nothing to me, motherfucker.
Right. Exactly.
So over the course of the next 2 months, Ming repeatedly raped Mary, telling her that he wanted her to feel dirty, debased, and degraded. I know that thing we talked about, wanting to be the most important person in her life. He wanted to, if she did survive this, to like ruin her, you know, make her just never be able to forget this stuff, I guess.
Apparently.
He also recorded the conversations and rapes on his video camera. That's always smart to leave, you know, undeniable evidence laying around.
Dude, he didn't give a fuck. He had one goal in life, and it was to take her hostage.
I agree. I feel like he was living for this, right?
He was living.
He had nothing else going on.
Didn't care.
Yeah.
Didn't have anything planned any further than this.
Crazy. Nope. And he's also a liar too. When Ming told Mary that he was her student 15 years prior, he indicated that she had given him a B+ grade in algebra, which prevented him from going to college, which of course was a lie. He also said, as a result of this, him not being able to go to college because of that B+, he was drafted into the Vietnam War and became a prisoner of war.
Oh my God!
Also,
that's a bit of a stretch.
Like, he's just trying to justify this evil behavior that he's just being, you know, a sexual creep rapist. And he's trying to justify, like, I'm only doing this because you screwed me over and made me go to war.
Oh, of course. A typical narcissist, man. You got to blame everybody else. It's never his fault. You know, come on now.
So while he kept them at his house, the victims were often separated. He placed Elizabeth in a box in his van for 8 hours when he went to school, when he was at work, while her mother was locked in the closet at the residence. That just makes it all the worse. You know, he's taking your 8-year-old daughter and you don't know where she is, whether she's still alive. She's gone for long periods of time while you're locked in this closet.
And is he driving this van to work with her in the back?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. In some sort of a trunk in the back.
Holy shit.
Fucking
I can't
horrible.
believe I can't believe no one heard her.
Right.
Like, or maybe she had given up by this point. I mean, who knows?
He might have threatened her, said, I'll kill you if you make any noise. I'm sure he did.
Yeah. Or kill your mother or whatever. Yeah.
He told Mary that he would kill her husband and son if they ever tried to escape. As time progressed, though, we've seen this common thread. When someone holds people captive, over time they get more comfortable and they start to relax their, their captive victims.
I think it's because deep down they want their victim to want to be there, don't they?
Yeah.
And they love themselves so
they're hoping
much
that they get that
like,
Stockholm syndrome and that they just adjust to the new life, and it is what it is. And sometimes that does happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. They're like, I hope that you get to know me through this process and you just want to stay here and be my sex slave forever, please. Right. Like, it's crazy theology, but in his mind, that was the goal. That was life goals right there, I think, for him.
Yeah. So when maneuvering around the apartment, Mary and Elizabeth were ordered to remain bound together. However, he started to relax his rules a bit. They were eventually allowed to eat upstairs in the kitchen and were allowed to shower. Quote, he was weirdly affectionate in a sick parental way, Elizabeth would later say.
I could see that.
At the time, Ming ran an electronics store and eventually had to go back to work. And on the 7th of July, after Ming left for work, Mary managed to remove the hinge pin from the locked closet door. Despite being chained to each other, Mary and Elizabeth were able to reach the phone in the kitchen and call law enforcement.
Thank God.
Reminded
I
me.
love these endings.
Yeah, reminded me of several of the cases we've covered in the past. Just recently, the bone breaker case, the kid that,
Yes.
threw himself down the stairs and got to the phone.
Had two
Also,
broken legs.
yeah, also the guy that got Bob Berdella caught. Remember, he jumped out the window and was running down the street naked, and a
Oh
meter
yeah.
a meter reader found him. And
Yeah, he was wearing like a dog collar
mm-hmm.
and like chains.
Yeah,
That is insane.
yeah,
Crazy visuals there on that one.
yeah, yeah. So when the officer arrived, Mary was asked if 6-year-old Jason was with them. And while Mary had known that Jason had been removed from the trunk before they even got to the home, she hadn't realized that he had been murdered. Quote, "That's when I knew Jason was never made it home and was most likely dead," she said. So Ming was, now they knew who had done this, had abducted the woman and child and killed the other child. He was swiftly apprehended and ordered to stand trial. He still was not giving up on this, though. Like, while awaiting trial, he tried several times to have Mary and Elizabeth killed so that they couldn't testify against him. And during the ensuing trial, this is the first time we've had something like this in one of our cases.
This is crazy.
Yeah. During the ensuing trial, Ming somehow had been able to smuggle in a pocket knife into the courtroom. And as Mary was on the witness stand testifying against him, he charged at her, jumped over the table, and attacked her, inflicting a wound that would need 62 stitches to repair.
Dude, what is your plan? What is your end game
I think
here?
he was trying to cut her throat and kill her. I really do.
God, but like, then you're definitely going to prison. It's like, it's so easy to convict you.
He was going anyway. I mean, shit, the evidence was overwhelming. I can't even imagine if they got the video too, all the videos he'd been recording. Like, he was toast.
Yeah,
and he knew
that's true. And they already had him for killing the little boy, for killing Jason as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was fucked. But just the nerve of him to try to do this,
right?
That's insane.
Yeah, the true sicko, man.
I think that was a little bit of, well, if I can't have you, nobody can have you. And if I'm going to prison for life, then no one's going to have you. And that's what he tried to do.
So following the outburst, Ming was bound to his chair during court proceedings. Probably should have been already. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, for real.
He was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to 40 years for the murder and another 30 years for the kidnapping. He had reached a plea agreement wherein he directed investigators to Jason's body in return for first-degree murder being taken off the table. This meant that he could actually be eligible for parole in as little as 30 years, and which has now come and gone. In 2010, Ming was back in court with parole consideration coming up that summer. When he entered the court, he was using a walker and had shackles attached to his feet. That old routine, the old what was his name? The Golden State Killer, or the Golden State Killer. How he tried to act all frail.
Yeah.
And Robert Durst. Robert Durst was actually frail, I think, but
through some of those last proceedings, he was.
I don't think that was really much of an act at that point.
Right.
Pretty weird coincidence there that we kind of called his death. We jinxed the jinx, people say. We put out that episode, and right at the end, I was like, I don't think he's going to last very long. And then 2 days later, he was dead.
True crime guys jinx. We jinxed the jinx.
Good riddance. Elizabeth spoke publicly during the hearing about how the incident still haunted her. She was now a married mother, and said that Ming had threatened to hunt her and her own children down if he was ever caught, imprisoned, and then released. She said, quote, "I'm a mother today. Everything he ever told us during the kidnapping, he did. I don't know if I'd let my children go out to a park, to a mall if he were released." I think she's 100% right on that. I don't think he'd 100%. Ever let this go. He'd go right back to trying to kill her again, I guarantee you.
Yep.
Ming apologized for his crimes and said that he had been rehabilitated. Quote, "The remorse and sorrow remains heavy on me. I regret acting in that matter. I chose to do wrong. I had no concern for anybody." Ultimately, the judge didn't buy his act and ruled that Ming was sexually dangerous and with a sexual psychopathic personality. She decided that if Ming were ever paroled, he would be committed to the state's sex offender program. The decision was a welcome relief to Mary and Elizabeth. Quote, "I don't want to say that we're afraid. I don't know what could have happened in 30 years, but the same token, my family knows that the threat is real." Yep. And as of 2022, the year we're in currently, the Parole Commission has repeatedly denied Ming's request for release, and he remains incarcerated at FMC Rochester in Rochester, Minnesota. So still locked up.
I hope he stays there
where he belongs.
Yeah, he belongs to stay behind bars for life, man. I mean, he was showing signs from a young age.
His patience over the course of that time just makes me think that maybe over the course of this 30 years that he's been locked up, or however long it's been, that he may have just been sitting there thinking about the moment he, like Michael Myers almost, the moment he gets out, he's just going to go back to it.
No doubt.
Wouldn't put it past him.
No, because like I said before, and I've reiterated in this, that was life goals for him.
Yeah.
Like, so if he's 60 years old and still able to hunt this woman down, especially now, right? I mean, now with the internet, you can find her so fast.
Right.
If she hasn't changed her name or anything. So yeah, he's got to stay behind bars, man. This guy's obsessive.
Yeah.
Obsessive.
All right. We still got one more case for y'all. We're calling this one, quote, "She'll pay for what she's done." And for this one, we're going across the pond to jolly old England for this terrible tale of stalking and murder with an abundance of inexcusable police negligence. This one will frustrate the shit out of you when a person is repeatedly reporting to the police that they, have a dangerous stalker ex-boyfriend that is dangerous and he's breaking into my home and doing all these sorts of things, and they kind of just brush it off time and time again and actually fine you for wasting their time.
Well, the police tend to take it a little less serious when you say it's an ex. Right?
Yeah, when they see that you're still talking to the person as well, which, I mean, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Like, he was threatening to kill himself. He was threatening to do horrible things if she didn't talk to him. And that felt like her only option, I think, was to keep talking to him.
Absolutely. But like I'm saying, that's why I'm saying, I think that's why the cops didn't take it so serious, is because they thought, well, you were in a relationship with this guy. Right. You've kind of made your bed, and then also you're continuing to talk to him. You're continuing to string him along. So what are we supposed to do?
Yeah. Well,
but
sadly,
plenty serious enough.
Sadly, that outlook would cost them, and it would cost Shauna even more.
Agreed.
So Shauna Grice was born in 1997. She was the only child to her parents, Sharon and Richard, and she grew up in Portslade, England. I'm not sure if I said that right. Portslade, England.
Portslade. Yeah.
I sound more Australian every time I try to do England. I just can't break the Australian thing. Maybe it's somewhere in my past. I don't know. Shauna was kind, bubbly, and made friends everywhere she went. In 2015, she began working as a receptionist for Brighton Fire Alarms. She was trying to save money for an upcoming wedding with her boyfriend of 3.5 years, a guy named Ashley Cook, who went by Ash. So she was in a serious relationship. I guess you could say engaged. I don't know. I don't know if they were planning. They just kind of mutually said, let's get married. And there wasn't really a proper engagement thing. Who knows? They were young.
Right. They're working towards it.
Yeah. So when she begins working at Brighton, she meets and becomes friends with her new coworker, Michael Lane, who was 8 years her senior. He was 26 at the time, her 18. And they formed what would end up being a sexual relationship, a secret, basically liaison type of thing. But when she tried to end the affair after a few months, she was still in a serious relationship and looking to get married, and probably realized what she was doing was messed up and, tried to end it. Lane was not a fan of the idea. And this is where, we get to the stalking part of this case.
Right.
Michael Lane began to stalk Shauna Grice after she broke up with him and returned to her previous boyfriend. He had become obsessed with her. I think this happens a lot with guys that are a fair bit older than younger girls. I think a young, attractive girl gives this guy who's 6, 7, 8 years older than her attention, and like maybe he hasn't gotten attention from young, attractive girls before. Maybe he was kind of dorky. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying I think this happens a lot, where like guys that didn't get a lot of girl attention, they hit their mid-20s, maybe they mature, whatever it is, and then some young girl likes them because they're older and they're more mature, whatever. And they're not used to getting all this attention from a young, attractive girl. This is what they wanted growing up. They didn't get it. Now, like when this said girl breaks up with them, they can't get past it. And I think a lot of stalkers start this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And also this guy liked them young, which we'll find out.
Yeah, that's true. He was basically a pedophile. So that there's that too. He had quite a history, which the police should have fucking thought about and looked into when they kept blowing off Shauna. What the fuck? Well, that part is probably the most enraging part, is when you find out his background at the end of
history.
Yeah, it's unreal. So yeah, he'd become obsessed with her, and after she broke up with him, he still ordered her flowers on her birthday. When her tires were slashed, guess who showed up to conveniently, just happened to drive by and end up helping her swap out her tires.
Wow, was it Lane?
Yeah, maybe the guy who slashed her tires in the first place. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Right, he bends down to help her and a knife falls out of his pocket. Oh, shit.
Seriously. He would also key her boyfriend Ash's car and left a note saying, quote, "Dear Ash, Shauna is and always will continue to cheat on you. Happy New Year."
Wow.
Wow.
Just trying to start shit.
Yeah. He then put a trap. He's probably hoping that the boyfriend would break up with her and then she would come crawling back to him or something.
Of course. Yeah.
Pretty petty attempt there. He also put a tracker device on her car, which notified via his mobile phone every time the car moved. And this would lead him to be just basically following her around town.
Yes.
Constantly.
And this kind of goes in hand with what we were talking about in the last episode, how difficult it was to be a stalker.
I was thinking that this
then,
is modern stalking here, when you're able to use technology to your benefit.
That's what I'm saying. Like with this type of technology, and this shit's been out for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has no problem stalking her in 2016. That's for sure.
So on February 8th, 2016, Shauna complained to the police for the first time about being stalked by Lane. Police tracked down Lane and warned him to leave Shauna alone. Then on March 24th, so a couple of weeks later, Michael Lane snatched her phone and grabbed her hair. So he showed up at her house. She ran down the street, at which point he pulled her hair, snatched her phone out of her hand. He would be arrested on suspicion of assault, but later released, and Grice would be issued with a fixed penalty notice by the police for wasting their time. So she was fined 90 pounds and he was released from police custody. This is after he told the police that to look through her phone and his phone and see that they're still conversating, that she's leading him on or whatever he said, and when they look into it and see that she's still been communicating with him, then they get frustrated with her and say, "You need to stop wasting our time," and fine her 90 pounds and release him from jail.
God, that's some bullshit.
Forget that he just assaulted her, and then he keeps showing up at her house. He showed up in her house in the middle of the night. That's why this whole thing happened. Like, it's right. Regardless of whether she's talking to him, like,
I would have loved to have seen those text messages though, just to see what they're about, because most likely they're probably her just being nice, just being friendly, so he doesn't show up at her house. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't answer anything and he keeps calling and texting, you can bet,
and the
next place he gonna be
texts are threat. They're probably threatening, like, "I'm gonna kill myself if you don't talk to me," something along those lines, or I'm gonna hurt you, whatever. I'm gonna hurt your boyfriend, whatever it is.
Exactly. Well, I would hope he wouldn't be that stupid to write that stuff and then show it to the police.
Well,
but you never know.
He could just delete those messages, make himself look good.
That's true.
I mean, he got a hold of her phone.
Well.
Maybe when he got a hold of her phone, that's why he got her phone, to get rid of some incriminating shit that he had said to her.
Yeah, maybe.
So following this incident, Shauna would leave her job at Brighton Fire Alarms, and soon Lane would be forced to resign from the job as well, as they knew he was a creep and what was going on. Nonetheless, she continued to talk to him. Lane regularly threatened suicide if she didn't talk to him. I think that's important to note. That's probably why she did that. And also, he knew where she lived, and he was willing to go to any length to get her to talk to him. So it was almost easier to talk to him through a text than have him show up in your fucking bedroom in the middle of the night like he did on regular.
Right. That's what I was saying earlier. I mean, she has motive and reason to be replying to this man, because
the police aren't helping her
over the phone.
So
what
is she supposed to do? This is
At
where,
least if you keep in contact, you know where he is.
This is where, as a father, if I hear my daughter says this is going on, I'm going to jail, because I'm just going to break this dude's knees and threaten his life. That's what's happening. I'm just telling you guys now.
Especially if he shows up at your house.
Oh, you show up at my fucking house. Yeah, I'm shooting you.
Right.
If you're in my daughter's bedroom in the middle of the night, you're dead. That's what's happening.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
So now that's happening. Like Jack Black said in Anchorman, when he kicked Baxter off the bridge. So now this
took everything I love. Now this is happening.
It's one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever.
I know, me too.
It's a stuffed animal just floating off the bridge. So stupid.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
Yeah, amazing. So on July 9th, Michael Lane used a stolen key to let himself into her home and watch Shauna while she slept. She was actually, he thought she was asleep. She was actually awake, and she had heard his footsteps and hid under her duvet. She heard a man breathing in her room. Shortly afterwards, she looked out the window and saw that it was clearly Michael Lane walking away. Fucking wow.
That's scary. That's terrifying.
He had obtained stolen a key at some point. I think when she officially broke up with him, she told him to come get his stuff. He had some shit at her house, and while he was there getting his stuff, he was able to snatch a key. So he had a key to her house. Jesus and unfortunately, Christ. She didn't change the locks, or put in like a Simply Safe or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. A Ring doorbell.
Yeah. So he would end up being arrested for theft and given police caution and told to stay away from Grice. Like this, at this point, this is not enough. Like you've already warned him to stay away from her. He's clearly not staying away from her. Where's the, what do you call that?
Yeah, where's the motivation?
Restraining order. Where's the restraining order?
The restraining order.
There we go.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
so they arrested him, but they didn't even keep him this time. They were just like they just arrested him and was like, hey, you leave her alone now.
Yeah.
And then he was good.
Bad boy, stop it.
Oh, okay, that'll do it.
Yeah. The following day, she received around 7 phone calls from a block number, including one with heavy breathing. On July 12th, she reported to police that she was being followed by Lane. I believe this was either her 4th or 5th attempt to, report him to the police.
Right.
Police treated the case as low risk, but the investigating officer would be made aware. On August 4th, she saw Lane loitering outside of her home. She confided in her friend Joanne Pumphrey that she was afraid that the police wouldn't believe her because of her previous fine for wasting police time. So now he's outside of her home, and she's too afraid to even report him to police again because the police basically getting frustrated with her every time she reports him.
Right. And she might get fined again. It's like, and he's probably staying just outside the realm of criminal now. You know what I'm saying? He's probably like across the street.
For now, until he decides he's going to strike.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But until then, I feel like he's keeping just enough distance to where she really has no case.
You do,
especially not with how much she's been aggravating the police.
You can't help but wish that she had reported this one on August 4th because she had at least had a friend there, Joanne, who was an actual living witness to the fact that he was at her house yet again, threatening her.
Yeah, and she could even have Joanne call.
Yes, maybe that would.
I feel like my friend's life is in danger.
Difference. Yeah. As it was,
only 18.
As it was, she didn't report it. And in total, Shauna had already called the police 5 times in 6 months to report the stalking and different assaults that Michael Lane had done to her. And it all led up to him taking it to the next level. On August 25th, Lane waited until Shauna was home alone. He let himself in with the key that he had stolen, where he, while she was asleep, slit her throat and set fire to her bedroom. And it goes from threats and things like that to just full on. He just takes her life.
You can only imagine like that the first time he broke into her house, standing over in that corner, he was probably trying to get the nerve up and just couldn't do it.
Yeah, maybe.
He probably wanted to kill her that night and just couldn't do it. And then comes back and actually does kill her in her sleep. Or maybe he knew she was awake.
Yeah. Oh,
she didn't know
when she had the duvet over. I mean, who sleeps with a duvet over their whole, like their head and everything?
Right.
Maybe some people, but it's pretty odd.
Exactly.
So he slits her throat and he sets 2 fires, one on her bed and one on the carpet. The fires didn't take off by the time that police and different people responded. It'll actually be her boyfriend's father, Ian Cook, who was the one to find her. And the home would be filled with smoke, but not set ablaze yet. Michael Lane would be arrested the same day at his workplace in Burgess Hill. Security cameras were unbelievably damning. I mean, it basically told the whole story. He was caught on camera everywhere.
This guy was
leading up to and after the crime.
Thank God.
Security cameras showed him filling cans of gas the day before, walking towards her home on the night of the murder, and using her bank card to withdraw 60 pounds from her account the day after the murder. What a dumb fuck.
Seriously.
And his lies were just ridiculous. Trying to explain the camera footage that, basically showed him all but committing the crime. He initially lied to the police about his movements on the day before admitting that he had gone to her home. He claimed that he had found the door open and then found Shauna's body in her bedroom. And of course he's like, well, I knew that you guys would blame it on me if I found her body after all that I've done.
Because I've been stalking her and harassing her and stuff.
Yeah. So he claimed that he panicked, then left the scene without dialing 999, checking Shauna's vital signs or telling the family what he had found. He claimed that he only kept quiet about what he had seen because he was afraid of being accused of the murder. As for the, security camera footage, he said that the gas was to set himself on fire after finding her dead. Or no, he got that the day before. So that's even harder to explain. He'd gotten the gas the day before he killed her. So he was saying that, he was going to set himself on fire because he was so upset about the breakup that he was suicidal. That's how people typically kill themselves. They set themselves on fire.
Oh, okay. So he was suicidal about the breakup, not finding her.
Possibly imagine to kill yourself is how he's saying that he was choosing to do it.
Jeez, that's like some Japanese monk shit
Yeah,
right there,
man,
bro. You can't just do that if you don't prepare for that. You can't light yourself on fire.
You only set yourself on fire if you're trying to really prove a point about something.
Exactly. It's like a protest or some
Yeah.
shit.
He said he used her gift card to pay himself, or he used her bank card to pay himself back for the gifts that he had bought her prior to her death. So he finds her dead. You know what most people do is
let me help myself.
Call the police and say, "Hey, my ex-girlfriend's been murdered. I don't know why I'm in her house, but I found her."
But I found her, right?
What he chooses to do rather than report any of that, he just takes her bank card and pays himself back for what he had gotten her during. What a great guy.
Right. What better time than now, though?
Right.
There's no sense in both of us suffering.
Right.
I need that $60.
Yeah. So the trial would last 2 weeks in Lowe's Crown Court. Surprisingly, it even lasted that long. After being found guilty, Lane was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 25 years. Shauna Grice's parents, Sharon and Richard, said that their daughter would still be alive if Sussex police had acted on their complaints. The judge, Justice Green, also criticized the police. During sentencing, he said there was seemingly no appreciation on the part of the investigation that a young woman in a sexual relationship with a man could at one and the same time be vulnerable and at risk of serious harm. Sussex police also revealed that Michael Lane had been the subject of complaints from 13 other women and girls prior to this.
13.
Yeah. So no consideration.
And yet we're waving this off.
His background and all the crimes that he had already committed and all the creepy behavior he'd displayed over the years when, Shanna's reporting these crimes.
Ridiculous.
Most of the complaints related to the 3 years before Shauna Grice's murder, except for one where allegedly occurred in the preceding 10 years. A domestic homicide review report concluded that Michael Lane had harassed 12 girls and young women between 2006 and 2016, and he had been arrested over claims that he had groomed a 14-year-old girl. He was not charged over the 2010 grooming allegation, which was marked on his arrest record, but it was noted that when Shauna Grice reported him for harassment, the allegation dates to when he was a volunteer scout leader. Oh boy. After his arrest, he resigned from the Scouts. He was told the allegation would be considered if he tried to rejoin the organization, but when he did so in 2015, he was not recognized as a past member, and he volunteered for several months. The failure to recognize him was put down as a temporary glitch in the IT system. You can't have glitches when you're dealing with people that are predators dealing with children. You got to make sure that anybody that volunteers to be a Cub Scout leader or whatever, Girl Scout leader, whatever it is not a fucking pedophile or, a sexual predator.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
You have to do
very important.
You have to do your due diligence, but at the same time, these organizations need volunteers all the time, like crazy. It's like not very many people want to volunteer to take care of other people's kids. Like, it takes a special type of person.
I got to look at you a little sideways and really look at your background. Like, especially if you don't have kids yourself, there's no, like, if you have a kid that's going into it and you want to be kind of like the baseball team, like,
if your kid's on the team, it makes a little more sense. It makes a little more sense, though, especially at a young age. Yeah. Like if you're a high school coach and your kid's not on the team, that's normal. Yeah. But like at young age, the coach's kid is usually on the team. I want to say same way with scouts.
I want to say years ago, Adam Carolla had a joke about this. He's like, I don't want the guy who's volunteering to be the Cub Scout leader as the Cub Scout leader. I want the guy that's sitting in the corner like, I don't want to do it. Like, you're doing it, motherfucker. Kind of like president, like I want the guy who doesn't really want to do it, but is qualified rather than the person that just really wants to do it so badly, wants control over people and shit.
Right. Yeah. There's something alarming about that. Yeah. That's a red flag for sure.
Yeah. So the report said that Lane had used youth movements, which appealed to young women and girls to allow him access to the victims. Oh boy. So he's white knighting this thing. He's acting like he's a part of the cause so that he can try and abuse them. What a guy.
Mm-hmm.
The report also mentioned an account of Lane being, quote, very controlling in another relationship, of him bombarding women with explicit messages, loitering outside their homes, pestering women to sleep with him for money, harassing two women before he met in a pub, and sexually assaulting another woman. So they knew this all was on record when Shauna is reporting 5 times about his behavior, and they don't get a restraining order. They don't do anything other than kind of shame Shauna for reporting him. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. But some of these officers get
disciplinary action.
Right?
Yeah. So in April 2019, it was announced that 3 police officers would face disciplinary action the following May. 2 officers, 1 retired, faced gross misconduct proceedings, whilst another was accused of misconduct. So They've changed some
something.
stuff. They've changed some laws as well because of this. They got rid of the whole fining people for reporting, domestic assaults and violence, and so yeah, they got rid of that.
Well, good, man. I'm glad something came out of it. Something, I guess, was learned, because you see a lot of these cases, and typically they're in the U.S., at least the ones that we do, and the law enforcement office, the local PD or whatever, they're usually the ones that get off on this. You know what I mean? Like, they have, this was pointing to this at the time, and this was pointing to that, and we just didn't have evidence for this, and people get off. But props to the judge for actually holding some officers accountable in this situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's no other way around it. I mean, when you look at his background and look at what he, all the times that Shauna was reporting, it went beyond just like, oh, he's threatened me through a text or whatever. Like, he was breaking into her home, slashing her tires, like literally damaging personal property of her and her boyfriend.
Yeah. I mean, this guy was around everywhere. He was everywhere.
Yep.
She should have gave him some "Oh my Gaia," and then she could smell when he was near.
Oh my God.
And she would
know.
That's
brilliant.
Right?
That's brilliant.
Right? Give him a little "Oh my Gaia," a little true crime pine, and then you know what? He's not worthy of the true crime pine. Fuck him.
Hell no.
Let him give him some Old Spice with some fucking aluminum in it. Fuck this guy. Yeah.
Just so you know, if you're a rapist and you try to order "Oh my Gaia," you're not getting it.
You're not getting it. Exactly.
We will
exactly. Know. But for all you good creepers out there, we can hook you up with some amazing all-natural deodorant and scented oils.
Yeah.
Oh My Gaia is an innovative all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness. At Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients. Like we alluded to earlier, guys, we have our very own scent called True Crime Pine that Oh My Gaia created just for true crime guys. But there's also tons of other scents to choose from vanilla to cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack, honeysuckle, fireside, bergamot, amber, pear, sweet pea, sailor, barbershop, and more are being added all the time. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the word creeper for 15% off your order. That's creeper, CREEPER, for 15% off your order at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram or ohmygaia.com. And the link to ohmygaia.com and your code word is in the description of this very episode, guys.
Do it now. Do it now.
Do it now.
All right. Well, since we love all natural products and small businesses that make great products, let's also talk about Tonic Cbd.
Yes, we
must. As you know, all CBD products are not created equal. From how the hemp is grown and processed to how it's formulated and delivered into your body, every step of the process that goes into making the product affects your ultimate experience with it. That's why Tonic's products really stand out. Founder Brittany Carbone created her original formulas using CBD, adaptogens, herbs, and superfoods back in 2017, has been working to deliver the most effective, intentional, and sustainable products possible. Tonic Craft cultivates their own hemp on their certified organic family farm in upstate New York. That hemp travels only 30 minutes to their state-of-the-art manufacturing and distribution facility, where it's turned into a finished product and sent to you, ensuring only the highest quality vibes at every stage of the process. Their farm-to-bottle CBD botanical blends are uniquely formulated to provide targeted support where you need it most, and each and every high-quality ingredient is thoughtfully selected for its ability to support and enhance the benefits of CBD, which are many benefits. They have a bunch of different blends, and depending on your needs, you can find one that's just for you. The best part is they work with us, and you can save 20% at checkout by putting in the code word Creeper.
Nice.
You know our code Creeper every time.
Creeper.
20% off any of the products at tonicvibes.com. That's tonicvibes.com, Creeper, to save 20%.
All right, guys. And again, linked below the description.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that very much, guys.
Yeah.
Also, we need to talk about Patreon. Patreon, man.
Hold on, let's give shout outs. Let's give shout outs to people.
Oh, yeah, let's give some shout outs first.
Let's see.
That's right.
Let's see what we got. It's been a couple weeks. So I want to say thank you to Maynard DA in the US. Says, love the show. In a world where crime runs wild, two men are willing to cast all problems aside to use their voice to speak out about the horrible and vicious crimes committed on the innocent. Against all odds, they come together to bring an entertainment to creepers of all sanities with their trusty steed, their van, by their side. Yes. No killer is crazy enough to stand in their way. Became a patron today. Thank you. You are amazing. We need you to add you as a writer. Holy shit.
I know, really. We need to just make that a damn promo right there.
That was awesome.
You should read it in like a movie voice, Lauren.
In a world.
Exactly.
Then we got Cedar LG in the US says, good listening. Thank you for the hours and hours of entertainment. I finally started supporting y'all on Patreon because I can't get enough. My favorite is when a regular episode turns into a crossover episode with higher thoughts. Michael's musical talent is incredible. Less sports though, please. Fuck off.
You got to take all of us.
That makes me want to talk sports. How you thinking about this crazy free agency period? Speaking of sports, check out.
I was about to say,
we will keep it to a minimum since we got the football show going back on. Me, my buddy Tori, and now my buddy Josh are doing a fantasy football show that we started last year called Full House Fantasy Football. If you want to check that out, it's on iTunes and all that stuff. And we're also posting the video version on our YouTube channel on True Crime Guys. So check that out. If you like the sports talk, then there you go.
There you go.
Then we got Rascal 1414 in the US says, great information with fun banter included. I heard of you guys through one of my other podcasts I listened to. I believe it was either True Crime Enthusiast or Last Podcast on the Left. I don't think Last Podcast mentioned us, so it must be True Crime Enthusiast. So if it is, thank you, True Crime Enthusiast. We'll have to check out your show as well. And they says, I finally started binging your episodes. The way you two banter together is amazing, and I absolutely love how you're able to get the information out. You do a great job of storytelling, the crazy and horrific stories. I'm an over-the-road truck driver, and it's nice to see another podcast that I can listen to that helps me get through my long driving periods. I started 2 days ago and have made it through 10 episodes. So I can't imagine where you're at now because this was on the 17th.
Right.
Anyways, can't wait to get through all the episodes and then start working on the Patreon episodes. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And we got one more from R3378 in Australia, mate. All right. Just found the podcast and so glad I did, as now I'm binging. Love the humor and stories. Thanks. Cheers from Australia. Cheers, mate.
Right on. Cheers. Appreciate that, guys. We appreciate all the reviews as well as ratings on Spotify. If you guys are listening on Spotify, now you can rate your favorite podcast, and that helps our show very much. So if you could just click a little 5-star there, we'd appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
But if you really want to support the show and you really want a shit ton of content, patreon.com/True Crime Guys. Like always, like all of our other links, guys, you can check it right below the description. And for just $5 a month, you get access to what we think is the greatest Patreon tier ever invented. Wouldn't you say, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, everyone agrees.
Everyone agrees. Obviously,
we're like that
everyone
that
here.
Burger place in the small town that's like the best burger in the world.
Yeah, exactly. When you stay in your small town, you don't know any better. Exactly. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. But yeah, patreon.com/True Crime Guys. For just $5 a month, you guys can get access to the Patreon exclusive, which we did last week. The True Crime Guys Patreon exclusive, you get access to that monthly exclusive. You get access to Just the Banter every single Friday, now with video. We just released Just the Banter 72, right? 71,
yeah.
So 71 and 70 both have video. We started with episode 70 with video. So we're trying everything we put out from now on out. We'll pretty much have video, all of the main conversational style shows and whatnot. But then also you got Strange Shorts every Monday. And then you also get access to Sandu Stories, which we just did a Sandu Stories called Holmes Sweet Homes. And it's a true crime what if, loosely based on the lore and story and murder castle that H.H. Holmes resided in. So we hope you guys will enjoy those. And like we said, patreon.com/True Crime Guys. There's more content on there than you can wave a stick at. I tell you what, right? You can listen to it for days.
That dog will hunt.
That dog will hunt, boy. That Patreon dog will hunt. If you get bored, go hit us up on there, guys. Like we said, it's cheaper than a gallon of gas. Cheaper than a gallon of gas.
It truly is.
Right. All right. Is there anything else, Lauren? Anything else we need?
That about does it. We'll see you next week for Stalker Series Part 2.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Keep creeping.
Hey, keep an eye out behind you. You never know who's watching.
That's right.
All right. See you next week. Keep creeping.
Keep creeping, guys.
True Crime Guys. In the desert, we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us because you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder. True Crime Guys. In the desert, we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder charming.
You hush your mouth, boy.